T.S. Krishnamurthy ji, namaste.
Namaste, Mr. Anand. How are you?
I'm good, sir. Thank you for your time. My first question to you is this entire process of S.I.R, which
Yes.
the Election Commission now has said that they will expand in the phase 2 to 12 other states. How do you see this move?
Yep. Well, you see, the revision of electoral roll is a constitutional responsibility of the Election Commission as part of the free and fair election. So, the Election Commission has been given the responsibility under the Constitution as well as the Representation of People's Act to ensure the purity of the electoral roll for free and fair elections. So, if the Election Commission in its opinion comes to a conclusion that there is a need for revision of the electoral roll, there cannot be any question on that because it is a constitutional duty cast on the Election Commission. So, if the Election Commission has come to the conclusion that the voter revision is required, I don't think we should have any objection to it because after all, it is in the interest of purity of the election process. And I am happy because it is unfortunate that after 2004, when I was the Chief Election Commissioner, we do not seem to have had intensive revision, door-to-door verification. I am glad that it is being done after 21 years. And I do hope that this will cleanse the electoral roll of all its impurities.
But Mr. Krishnamurthy, there's been resistance from the opposition. People like Rahul Gandhi and others have claimed vote chori. That is, that this is being done deliberately to try and take away non-BJP voters and strike them off the electoral rolls.
There are 2 points I would like to make, 2 observations. I would like to make this observation. Rule of law is the most important ingredient of any electoral democracy. And if rule of law is not complied with, I think it is the beginning of the collapse of democracy. Now, the Constitution gives certain responsibilities to the Election Commission. If the Election Commission is found fault with, if there are allegations of fraudulent transaction by the Election Commission or the electoral process, the best course is to comply with the rule of law, go to the court, and it cannot be decided on the streets. Only the court, an independent court, will arrive at the judgment whether Election Commission can be found fault with or it has indulged in biased voter roll revision. Now, as far as voter roll revision itself is concerned, unless and until you are able to prove that there has been manipulation, you cannot say that the additional names that have come into the voter roll will go to a particular party or excluded votes would have gone to a particular party. In the light of the fact that there is a privacy of the vote, how can you say that there is a vote theft? I do not know. I am really not able to understand. Yes, there can be irregularities, there can be mistakes, but to allege that there has been a manipulation in favor of a particular political party, I find it difficult to digest.
The leader opposition of the Lok Sabha has actually made these claims but refuses to sign an affidavit which would be admissible in a court of law.
No, that is, as far as the procedural aspect is concerned, as I said, if you have really an allegation, see, for example, the Constitution says that you can file election petition if you find irregularities in the election process.
Ji.
Now, how many election petitions have been filed since independence, since we became republic? Hardly few. And of course, these election petitions are not disposed of quickly. But the point is, if there are irregularities, the best way is to go and make the allegation and prove it in the court of law. And to say that, the Election Commission has indulged in some kind of a biased activity, it would be very difficult to convince anybody. If you really want a pure democracy based on rule of law, the best course is to lead the evidence before a court of law.
Fair point, sir. But there are also states which are now threatening violence. They are saying if you conduct the S.I.R exercise in our turf or in our states, there will be violence. Others are threatening non-cooperation.
Yes, I have heard about it. It's very unfortunate that such opinions are being aired. when a constitutional democratic institution is doing its job, as I said, if you have any grievances, go to the court. But if you are going to protest, that means you are not going to comply with the constitutional obligations. Are you going to justify your action under the constitution? Most of the people are legislators. They have sworn to the compliance with the constitution. And if you are not going to allow the constitution, institutions, democratic institution function, well, I can only say I'm sorry to hear this kind of position, but it is not a healthy sign of a good democracy.
There is resistance from BLOs.
Before independence, people's movement were drafted, no doubt, for our independence, and a lot of people were associated on the streets to bring about the change. But when once a constitutional democracy is established, it is necessary for us to abide by the provisions of the constitution. You cannot say that we will not allow an institution to function and so on. It's very unfortunate, but anyhow, we'll have to wait and see what is going to happen.
Now there is the level of non-cooperation is that BLOs are not stepping forward. The Election Commission is sending reminders. There is also this whole issue of threat to some of these election officers and BLOs and those who've been assigned, because a lot of teachers and other non-election commission staff will be asked to come and contribute. There is also the safety and security of these people. How would you view this?
Well, the voter register is prepared by the state government employees. As I said, in some states they do it very well, in some states they don't do it very well. So there are irregularities, there are mistakes. But to say that I will not comply with the direction given by the Election Commission, I can only say that it amounts to almost breakdown of the constitutional machinery. Well, the consequences are for the court or for whatever powers that be to decide. But constitutional institutions should be allowed to function. You can always allege mistakes and manipulations, prove it, and then convince in the court of law. That's the difference between Western democracies and Afro-Asian democracies. Unfortunately, we seem to have ignored the role of the courts in these matters, and we seem to depend on deciding these issues by taking it to the people. Well, I can only hope that good sense will prevail.
You were part of the Election Commission when the last time this entire exercise was undertaken, the intensive review in 2003.
Yeah.
Was there resistance from states at that time?
Yeah. No, not at all. In fact, on the other hand, most of the states wanted this to be done because they alleged there were mistakes in the voter register. And there were, of course, even now and even then, mistakes are bound to be there. It is like a stream of a river. There are inclusions and exclusions at every point of time. So mistakes will be there. Sometimes human errors will be there. But then you cannot say that we cannot allow a constitutional institution to function and prepare the electoral roll. After all, only the citizens of India can vote. And if the register is not prepared in accordance with the requirements of law, well, what else can I say? As I said, only good sense should prevail.
Your opinion on Aadhaar, Krishnamurthy sir, because at that time Aadhaar was not around. Now there is a huge debate whether it is a proof of identity or is it a valid supporting document to prove identity.
Aadhaar is an identity proof. Yes, it is. To say that the voter, the person concerned is having the Aadhaar card is the person who is entitled to vote. But Aadhaar is not proof of citizenship. In fact, when I was in the Election Commission, I had brought it to the notice of the Home Ministry then that you prepare the citizenship cards for all the people and if you have a registration of all the persons in India, you have a separate citizenship card so that everybody can use it for all purposes. Unfortunately, they had taken the stand that they will prepare it for border states and later on consider for other states. I do not know what happened to those identity cards, citizenship identity cards. But as it is now, Aadhaar card is only an identification instrument. It is not proof of citizenship. because even non-citizens are provided with Aadhaar cards.
So you're saying you are a votary of a national registry of citizens from which a citizen's card would actually arise, and you've made this suggestion in the past.
No, it's an important requirement for ensuring that the citizens play their role and non-citizens don't interfere with the electoral process. In fact, it has to be done periodically. There is no doubt about that. Or you can have a separate machinery for registration of all citizens and for verification of all citizens. It has to be done. It can be done by the state governments if necessary. But citizenship verification has to be constantly done.
So my final question to you, are you concerned about illegals, non-Bharatiya, non-Indians entering the entire democratic process via fake voter IDs, fake documentation,
Well,
and that could pollute or corrupt the entire democratic system itself?
Anand, I have written just at least a book right now, Beyond the Ballot, The Paradoxes of Democracy, wherein I have devoted one chapter of external interventions in electoral processes. Now, this is a point, yes, in every country there are immigrants, legal as well as illegal. Now, to what extent it is spread, I have no idea at all. Whatever we see in the press is that in some states it is particularly border states is extraordinary, and in probably non-border states it's not so much. So this is a issue which is a political issue. It has to be certainly sorted out, and the duty of the Election Commission is only to ensure only the citizens of India are entitled to vote, unless you follow a British system where Commonwealth citizens are allowed to vote. But we don't have that kind of a system. We have clearly established only citizens are entitled to vote.
I'm going to grab a copy of that book and give it a thorough read, sir, and before our next conversation. But thank you very much for your time. Thank you, sir.